Well. So it's another Micah and the Hatman, sadly without Hatman, which is unfortunate. And we'll talk a bit about that here in a minute. But this week, we'll be talking a little bit about an anime I watched because I finally had some spare time. Plus, the real benefits of properly keeping the gates. So, on that note, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Micah Curtis. Hatman is sadly not here, but welcome to Micah and the Hatman, regardless. So, before we get into the specifics of the week, real quick, let's say thank you to 420 Gunny for the resub. Thank you to Pedican for following the channel. Very much appreciated. So, the thing going on with Hatman is he has had a litany of BS happen to him all at once. The building that he is renting for his t-shirt business that he has with his dad has new owners, and they are not completely sure what the results are going to be for whether or not they honor the lease. I would imagine that they probably will, because I don't know. I can't really think of too many times that that new owners are just going to kick you out for no reason, especially if they can get money from you. But he is worried about that because this is Hatman and he worries. There's been some family stuff, specifically with family members getting ill, which that doesn't help things either. And he's been trying to get as much of Peregrine out before then. And I was trying to contact him this week, and he just wasn't answering messages. So he finally got back to me. And I've already talked to him about the serious stuff, because we still have 4 more 3 nights packages that have not gone out yet. They need to have gone out, and he knows that, but I reminded him anyway. So, regardless, that's basically what's been going on with Hatman, and puts a ton of stress on him. Not the kind of stress he's used to. So, I gave him my usual pep talk of, you just got to get it done. You can't think too much about it. Because if you think too much about it, you spend all your time thinking, and then you make your headspace worse, and then you just don't get it done. So in this case, hopefully he'll be able to, pull it together and get things finished. So yeah, that's the long and short on Hatman. Pray for him. He does need it. Hopefully he can get back in shape and be back with us soon. So yeah, that's the Hatman update. Life is not easy for the Hatman, for sure. But so let's get on to our usual festivities. So for those who don't know, I been working a lot lately, and I've not really had much time to do anything. Money also has been incredibly tight, which is very worrisome. Now, thankfully, between the sponsored stream I did, plus a generous donation from Brain, plus my work paycheck, I'll be able to take care of the rent this month. But, anything for cringe stuff is very much appreciated, just because, again, money's tight, and my bills are paid, but I have a fierce need to eat in the near future. So, regardless, though, I've been very busy. Between trying to get writing stuff done, which is very difficult to do when your hand has got a busted finger, and trying to stay rested enough to do my normal job now, and streaming, I have not had the opportunity to take in anything new. Because I'll be completely honest. Whoa! There we go. 420 says, here's my cringe. You gotta watch the part with Judas. It's fucking hilarious and the best part. Fair enough. But I have not been able to take in anything new. Like the when I was at work, the only thing I wanted to do was play Guilty Gear. That's it. I didn't even think about playing Elden Ring yet. As for how the finger is, I mean, it's healing. Here, let me give you a better shot of it. I mean, the coloration's back almost to normal if you see it there compared to the others. The only downside is because it hasn't been used as much, you can kind of tell that there's a little bit of atrophy, which is unfortunate. But I'm gaining function back in it as well. I try to take my splint off every day and kind of just let my fingers move properly, so that way it can get back in good shape. And it's not healing in such a way that it's like healing wrong, really. Like, it's gonna be a little deformed. You can kind of see that it curves up a little bit more than this other finger, but that's to be expected because of the break. But yeah, it's healing quite well. So, but anyway, one thing that I had been kind of curious about, because I had seen ads for it everywhere, was there was I heard about this anime about demon hunting called Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm like, oh, fuck it. You know, why not take a minute to give it a shot, right? So I sat down and said, you know, why don't I, because I had taken a nap last night, which kind of fucked up my sleep schedule. I'm like, why not just sit down and just watch this, you know? And so I did. And what ended up happening was I fell asleep 10 episodes in, which, by the way, is not a indictment of the show. It's an indictment of how fucking tired I am. Boss throws in another $25. Says, here's some Bears playing baseball. Okay. So, thank you, dude. That takes care of groceries. Hold on one second. Sorry, my neck is in need of popping. But anywho. The gimmick is basically that there's a group of sorcerers that are able to use cursed energy to kill demons. That's basically the gimmick. Or that's basically the premise. It's pretty simple. It's not too hard to follow. Our lead character is kind of a goofy high school student who happens to be kind of a physical ubermensch, which the reason as to why he's a physical ubermensch is not properly explained. But I assume that part of it is an offshoot of the fact that he has this odd ability to be able to control himself while there is a cursed being inside of him. So he's basically possessed by a demon, and he can access that demon's powers, and even give him control. It kind of reminds me of the relationship between Patrick Mulligan and Toxin when that character was first introduced in Marvel Comics. So, and then basically hijinks ensue. There's an interesting thing about it, because the premise sounds like that of kind of like a seinen, you know, like, and you expect it to be kind of fucked up after that, right? And it's not. It's just kind of another shonen in a lot of ways. You know, like, it's very high action. it seems like every fight a big fight that happens, like, whole buildings are getting shattered, there's giant holes in the countryside, shit like that. If I had a proper description for it, I would say Naruto if it was honest about the fact that these are not ninjas. That is exactly how I would describe it. Naruto if they were honest about the fact that these are not ninjas. Like, there's a lot of parallels. The teacher is an aloof guy with silver hair and covers, well, in this case, both of his eyes. The lead character is an aloof, goofy, social outcast. And his best buddy on the team, the black-haired one, is basically the Sasuke. There is the girl who wants to punch everything. You know, it's basically it's just Naruto being honest about itself, saying yes, these are wizards. Like, because that was part of my problem with Naruto for the, like, aside from the fact that it's not good. Like with Naruto, like it's constantly like, oh, these are ninjas. No, they fucking aren't. No, they barely use the traditional weaponry. Mostly what you're focusing on is magic. Like, and Naruto is basically Harry Potter for weebs. Like, it was just like, what the fuck, dude? And because it was so weird like that, like, whenever there was like a genuinely disturbing moment, it was fucking jarring. Whereas in this, because of the fact that it is honest with itself about what it is, and the subject matter, whenever there is a more fucked up moment in it, it's not jarring. You kind of expect it to happen because of the nature of the universe. And that's something that I really enjoy about it. The action is good. The characters are, and this is one thing I'll give it, the characters are actually pretty likable, believe it or not. They have more personality than a lot of other shonen characters that I've seen. I do think that they kind of turn up the goofy a little bit more than they really need to at certain points. But I'm 10, 11 episodes in, and I've noticed that they kind of, as it goes on, they turn that down incrementally, just little bit by little bit, as the seriousness of the show starts to pick up. And that's something I can really enjoy. So, regardless, do I enjoy it so far? I would say yeah. I'd say yeah. I really like the monster designs in it. The monster designs are really solid. Whoa, thank you 420 Gutty for the gift sub. One Path, enjoy that, my good sir. The fact that the characters are actually likable is big for me, because that's the problem that I have with a lot of modern fiction, is it kind of seems like everybody's written like an asshole, and nobody really knows how to do the endearing asshole bit. And then of course, like, you realize that these people aren't people, they're walking Twitter profiles, which makes it cancer. How was the dub? The dub's pretty good. It still has that sort of, again, kind of Adult Swim, I guess, energy to it. But overall, they get the characters. The characters are properly, you get the feel of it really well, and just kind of what the story is trying to get across. And that, in my opinion, is just basically all you really need when it comes to this sort of thing. So, I do not watch dubs, by the way, or I watch subs rather, because I don't speak Japanese. So, because the fact of the matter is that if I'm watching anything subtitled, I want you to look at all the screen space on the podcast right here, right? Imagine only seeing really seeing the bar down at the bottom for the donation goal, and nothing else. That's basically what it's like for me. Like, because I'm a hyper focused reader, so when I start reading something, I can't really notice anything else that's on the screen. So, like, subtitles can kind of go fuck themselves. If there's a dub of it, I'll watch it. I don't care. So, yeah. So that's the long and short of that. It's enjoyable so far on first impressions. I don't know if my opinion is going to change, and because I've got like 15 episodes left in the season, I think. But regardless, it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it so far, and we'll have to go from there. But yeah, well, and I feel, and for those of you who don't have problems reading subtitles, I envy you. I always will. That's not going to change. You know. So. All right. Topic number 1. So this is sort of a ranty topic for me. So as many of you know, been a Comicsgate guy since it started. Was one of the original dudes to be commenting on it, along with Richard Meyer, you know, and Captain Cummings and a few other guys. And it has been going on for 17, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. We're on year 6 of this. It's crazy. Crazy that it's been this long. And it's been an up and down ride. And one thing that is a common discussion whenever it comes to hobbies and things like that is gatekeeping. And how, pray tell, you keep the gates and why you keep the gates. And the general idea, of course, is to keep people out that are only there to shit the hobby up. Which, of course, makes sense. Because at the end of the day, people don't want their things fucked with in one way or another. But there's another reason that you also can argue that you want fervent gatekeepers, people that are always wary of new people coming in. And that's for fiscal reasons. Specifically scamming. So, I have not commented on this yet. Because I have been largely out of the game in regards to even discussing the goings-on within Comicsgate. A lot of it being because I really felt like I wanted to kind of back off of things. And fix my own shit before I started commenting on everything else. There's this thing in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life where he talks about, clean your room before you can criticize the world. And what that statement means is basically, if you don't have your own space free of clutter, if you're unable to maintain your own life, criticizing someone else's life is incredibly hypocritical, to say the least. And people are going to listen to you. Because they're going to realize, what you're saying and that you don't have your own shit together. And how it comes across. And that, your words mean nothing at that point. So largely I've been able to clean my own house. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be diving headfirst into CG drama or something like that, but what it does mean is there is an issue that I wanted to talk about that really bothered the fuck out of me, because it really shows that there needs to be a bit more skepticism whenever it comes to, you know, who just kind of shows up out of nowhere. And why you really need to be skeptical of new names and faces sometimes. You know? So, one thing I realized in sort of my time focusing on myself is that new faces kind of showed up within the CG sphere. And one of them was a group of people called Indiegogo. And I had heard a little bit about them. One person that was a part of that group, who goes by Indie Princess, was on Graded .5, and it was probably the most horrendous episode of that show, and Xavier and Optimus will tell you that they ever had. It was just fucking uncomfortable as shit. And when I watched it, I had to turn it off because it was just good lord, like what the actual fuck was going on there. But when it came to how things went on, they apparently made friends with people within CG, and they convinced a bunch of people, this guy named Varian and his wife, which is this Indie Princess chick, that they had a deal with Spencer's Gifts. And that Spencer's was interested in starting to put comic books in their stores. So right out of the gate, that's a red flag. Because, I'm going to be honest with you, I am not going to trust anybody who comes along who randomly starts saying that they've got these connections with Spencer's, and that Spencer's wants to sell comic books. Here's the thing about Spencer's Gifts, as long as I've known. The only comic book shit that I've ever seen them sell is merchandise from Marvel and DC. I know that because the last time I went to Spencer's, they actually had big-ass fucking mugs that had comic book characters on them. One of them was a Venom mug that I really wanted, that I never got around to buying, because I wanted a mug for hot cocoa. Now I have my Gundam mug, so I don't need that shit anymore. But, so, like, if you're telling me that they want to put comic books in their stores, Spencer's Gifts does not need to go to independent comic book creators. They're not going to have a desire to do that, because that's not necessarily going to sell. And by the way, I'm not trying to shit on the guys who made these comic books, because I think that, largely speaking, what I've seen from these guys, they're all very talented dudes. So it's nothing against them. It's just that if a store chain that is that big wants to put comic books in their stores, they're not necessarily going to be going for the indies first. You know, they're going to go for the big two first. That's going to be their first choice. Because if you could put Spider-Man, Venom, Wolverine, Hulk, Captain America, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League in your store, that's what you're going to go with. If you can get it, you're going to do it that way. You know, because those are the characters that John and Jane Q Public know. You know, and just the name alone might make them interested in picking up a comic. Now, the downside is, of course, they're going to buy one and never going to buy it again because modern comics are as bad as they are. But, generally speaking, that's what people are going to go with. So, thank you for the bit, servant. So when it comes right down to it, that's the first red flag. Second red flag was that this guy said that Spencer's needed them to print several thousand of their own comics to then sell to Spencer's. Red flag number 2. I'll say this right now. As somebody who has, talked to certain comic book shops about whether or not they're interested in doing it, it's very rare that you're going to be asked to print books unless you're already you've got a contract in place with the retailer, and basically what will happen is the retailer will make the offer for, hey, we'll buy it for this is how many copies we need, we need them sent by this date, etc. So it is one of those weird things where you see that and you hear like, oh, we need you to invest this much money. There's no reason a company that's that big is going to ask you to invest that much money. They're going to say, hey, here's the order. Here's how many we need. And here's the money for it. And that's it. That's what they're going to say. So that's another red flag. And at the end of the day, these guys kind of got bamboozled because the deal sounds really good. Because the simple idea of getting your comic books as an independent publisher, as an independent creator, in all of these stores is a game changer. Because here's something that I'll say right now. If you are an independent comic books creator, unless you are a big name, like an Ethan Van Sciver or a John Malin or anybody else that's capable of having these campaigns where you're selling like thousands of copies of your book, unless you are that big, you need to be considering the idea of getting your books into shops, because at the end of the day, that's going to be a good way to make money. That's what I'm thinking about doing, honestly. Once Englewood Book 2 is printed and out there, like, I'll be considering turning every like 20 some odd pages into its own book, and then seeing if I can get it in shops here in Illinois. And then Hatman can do them in North Carolina as well. Matthew Fowler, who's another creator here in Illinois, he actually gave me a list of shops to look at that would probably be interested in buying. And I'm gonna get that done, because then what I can do is I can just contact my printer, get the order from those shops, and then print them out and just have the books shipped directly to them. So it's just, you get the ISBN number, you pay for that, and then you ship the books off, and then you get whatever profits there are. So yeah. On paper it should, like, Brian Gilmartin puts a good point in the chat there. He says, on paper it should be desirable to get comics into a shop like Spencer's. Practice, the whole thing sounds like a scam. Exactly. So, not necessarily, Brain. But anyway. So, all of this is coming out of nowhere. And I'm going to be honest. This is something that I would advise to anybody out there when it comes to making business dealings with people on the internet. Verify everything. If somebody says, oh, I've shipped comics, I want to see to who. I want to know which shops they've been in. And then I want to call those shops so I can verify that they've done business with this person. Because I'm going to be completely frank with you. Like, I've published 2 comic books now, right? I don't feel that I'm fit to have tried to do a deal like this. If I was contacted by a company, and they're like, yeah, we want to publish your comic books, I would basically say, all right, well, here's the conditions. You're going to have to pay for the printing. And then once you've paid for the printing and the ISBN number, because, we're not selling it direct to customer, then then I'll go ahead and I'll put in for that, and then once I've got that ISBN number, I'll print you a new batch and I'll get them sent to you. And then you can pay me a cut of the sales. Because they're making the investment in my product, right? Braidbox throws in another $25. This may not be cringe, content ID warning, but thought it was funny. It's NVIDIA. Fair enough. Okay. Thank you, Brain. I very much appreciate it, dude. So needless to say, it is, again, it's another red flag. And I want to actually give a bit of credit to a gentleman who goes by the name Doju-kun Comics. I'm going to link his YouTube channel in the chat. He is actually a professional fraud investigator. When I worked for State Farm, I worked with a lot of fraud investigators. And I understand how much work it takes to even get there. I was actually in training to do it myself, and I just didn't follow through. And I kind of regret that I didn't, because that would have been a very well-paying job. But regardless, he's a smart dude, and he did a great breakdown of the problems with this. And basically, this Varian guy is a scammer. And he and his wife are scammers. What makes it even worse is that there is a dude who Piper told me about. I have not met this gentleman yet, but he seems like a super nice guy. He's also a Christian. He's a pastor named Luke Stone. Luke is a guy who has had some health issues, complications from COVID, if I recall correctly, that even put him in a coma. And he's in the healing process now, thank God. And these people ran a charity auction for him that's, honestly, in my opinion, underperformed. And I honestly wish that it's like I had been around at the time, because in my opinion, given the connections that I have and the people I know, I might have been able to host a bigger or an auction that would have had better results. But and I would have been willing to do so. But maybe I'll do something on my own at some point in the future. We'll see what happens. But regardless, like, the fact that they were in charge of that, like, really scares me. Because somehow their PayPal got locked. First off, how does your PayPal get locked? Like, you have to be doing something pretty scummy, or you filed something wrong. Those are kind of the two things that are off the top of my head. That, or you're apparently like a friend of Nick Fuentes or something. So, regardless, basically each of these creators is left with all these printed books. And they're just kind of sitting on them. And I actually want to say big thank you to Matt Fowler for being there. I like Matt. I've never had a problem with Matt. He's always been super polite with me. He's talked about, like, because, like, me, Fowler, myself, and then the Diaz brothers are kind of like, we between the three of us, like, we cover, like, the northern part of Illinois, from, like, the center up of, like, indie comic creators. So I love all those dudes. So, and we've talked about, like, going to cons together at some point, and stuff. And I know those guys already have, and I've missed out on it, sadly. Hopefully, if there's ever a convention here in Bloomington, I'll give them both a heads up about it. We can hang out. But Fowler was, like, on this like a fucking shark whenever it started to happen. And I have to say, man, big kudos to him for that. To, basically kind of put his foot down about this shit as a guy in the community and be like, look, this bullshit needs to stop. And we need facts of what's going on, not just this constant fucking lip service. So, kudos to that dude. I'm very happy that his most recent comic, Tiger Blue, was a good success too. So, regardless, what I am honestly hoping for, I'm hoping that these fucking scumbags go to jail. Like, seriously. Like, fuck them. Just fuck them.
Fuck them.
And hopefully people will realize in the future that this is why you have to keep the gates, more so than anything. Because people will come in, they won't just shit up your hobby with politics. They'll shit up your hobby with fucking scams.
And, I haven't done this in a bit, but, there's, between the weirdos and the fudge, we're not a big fan of, schemes and scams. You know, schemes and scams.
So, okay, I haven't done an Edwin impersonation in a while. But regardless, these folks may get away with this. I hope that they don't, honestly. But I hope that, if nothing else, the community will just put the fucking boots to them. And never let them out around ever fucking again. Like, seriously, my thing was, like, if they try to stream, downvote their shit to oblivion. Call them out on their bullshit every fucking day. Just call them scammers in the chat over and over and over again. You know, get it to a point where they're forced to ban everybody in chat. Just completely ostracize them. Tar and feather. Fuck them. Because at the end of the day, this sort of shit should not be permitted. Before, however, I finish this particular topic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while. I am going to do a little bit of shilling for something. So bear with me for just a moment. I have to do something real quick. There we go. So these creators have actually gone out of their way to and I know I don't have a Hatman avatar below me, so sorry about that, but to create a campaign with all of the books that were part of this deal, and try to sell the books off that they printed, and they get a lot to sell. So what they have here is actually some really good stuff. Some of these that I missed out on that I'll probably hopefully be able to invest in at some point. Only Death Can Save Us. This one is one that I missed out on. God's Hand is another from Anthony Figueroa. Anthony's a very talented artist. Has kind of a Joe Mad style to him. Hybrid Sons of Gods. This is the book that Luke Stone is doing. And the rest of these I don't know a whole lot about. Shield of the Interceptor, Indie Volt, don't care. The Oswald Chronicles, The Wellkeeper, Tall Tales, or so I thought, Hero Bot Zero. Might be things you're interested in. Have a look at the campaign. I think that just honestly, like for God's Hand and Only Death Can Save Us alone, for $25 for one of each, like I think that that's a very very good deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw this link in the chat and have a look at it, see if it's something you're interested in. Back it if you'd like. And one big thing, if you do back it, do me a favor, tell them I sent you. I don't want people to think I'm not trying to look out for Comicsgate anymore. So yeah. So that's why we keep the gates. That is the reason as to why you want to do that, because this sort of insanity just cannot stand. It can't. It should never stand. You know. I tell actually no. I'm not gonna go that vicious with this. So that's the end of that one. Second thing that I wanted to talk about today. Some social media stuff. I found this really interesting. So, Elon Musk is basically one Iron Man suit away from being Tony Stark at this point. I would say at this point, he is probably the most, beloved, billionaire in a while. And Elon Musk is somebody who's very critical of kind of the modern zeitgeist in a lot of ways. He's one of the major names who moved his business from California to Texas. And he is one of those guys that just a lot of people seem to really dig because of his eccentricities. I mean, this is a billionaire who went on the Joe Rogan podcast and smoked pot. Like, just, he's a strange dude. And, basically where he's at this point, is he's kind of just questioning things, and he's just investing in stuff to try to, well, just do it. And, let's see here. Rocket has a quick question. It says, both you willing to look into webcomics in the near future? No, there's no money in it. If I can sell you a physical product, I'm going to sell you a physical product. Like, you don't... I'm going to just tell you this right now. Trying to convince an artist to do a webcomic when you've had Indiegogo campaigns that make $10,000 or more, good fucking luck. You know, like, that's a step backwards. So, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, just to read. Probably not. Just, it's not really my thing. But anyway... So Elon Musk did a poll on Twitter, and basically said, free speech is essential to a functioning democracy. Do you believe Twitter rigorously adheres to this principle? 70% of people who voted, of 2 million voters, 2 million, said no. So think about that for a second. 2 fucking million people voted no on that. That's insanity. You know? I can't think of a Twitter poll where A, it's got that much interaction, and B, that it's been that lopsided. You know? So, what he's doing is he's asking... You know, he says here, given that Twitter serves as the de facto public town square, failing to adhere to the free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy. What should be done? Is a new platform needed? So here's the thing. Now, Mike Cernovich said buy Twitter. And Cernovich does not really have that many good ideas, in my opinion. Anybody from the Gamergate days can affirm Mike Cernovich does not have a lot of good ideas. Let's think about both possibilities for a second. So, let's say Elon Musk buys Twitter. Does that necessarily save Twitter? Possibly. It would depend on what happens after that. Who he leaves to run its daily operations. Because he's not going to. Now, he'd probably be more of a hawk of an owner than other people would. But I thought that, and I don't say this often of, like, culture warriors, but I thought that Nerdrotic guy, Gary, I think is his name, I thought he made a pretty good point. Because he said he apparently worked for Tesla at some point, and that there was actually a company meeting at the branch he was at, where they were apologizing for their owner's tweets. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, that in and of itself is not a good sign. Because I'm going to be completely frank with you. If you're worried about the guy who signs your paycheck, what he says on Twitter, you're fucking stupid. For lack of a better term. But, because he's signing your paycheck, shut the fuck up. But the other thing about it is that the big thing isn't necessarily who owns it. A lot of it's going to be who manages it. You know, and who's taking care of the day-to-day operations. And if Elon Musk was very hawkish about who was taking care of the day-to-day, and if, you know, it was a point where bad PR, like somebody getting banned from the platform, like the president, happened, if that person who did it gets fired the next day, yeah, it could be a positive. But again, he'd have to watch it like a shark, and I'm holding my water bottle so I have something to point. Because I got a much larger one for work. I don't know how many ounces are in a gallon, but this is pretty close to a half. So, and you're supposed to try to drink at least a gallon of water a day. Why do I have 2 water bottles? Why even? Why even, Micah? So that's the one thing. The other option is what happens if he were to create a new platform. Well, here's sort of my issue with that. If he does create a new platform, is there any guarantee that people are necessarily going to migrate to it? You know? And by the way, the other reason that I bought the new water bottle was the lid on the other one broke. But, see how well this functions. Quite well. But, because at the end of the day, like, alternative Twitter has been done. That's what Gab is. And Gab is a joke. This is a free speech platform. Alright, I want to post giant boobs. You're banned. Can't do that. Why? Because Andrew Torba is a psycho, and he is offended by boobies. Which, you know, seasons don't fear the booba. Nor do the wind, the sun, or the rain. Then what was the other one? Getter? Which, I mean, I love Getter Robo, but it's not associated. And there was another one, I think, that was, like, advertised as, like, conservative Twitter. I don't remember the name of it. Parler. Parler was another one. Hasn't really gone anywhere. It's just conservative Twitter. What else was there? Like, the only one that really came across like it was a good, viable alternative was Minds. Because Minds was sort of like Twitter, but you could actually do the twit longer thing instead of doing 40 tweets. But it never really caught on. Not in the way that it could have. Now, to be honest, I like Minds a lot more than a lot of other platforms. I don't use it, but, like, I love their format. But it's just one of those things where it's like, man, I just... Honestly... And maybe this is controversial. Actually, let's put up a poll, because we'll pull an Elon Musk. Let's put a poll up. And let's see what people think. So we're gonna put a 1-minute poll up in the chat there. And what do you guys think Elon Musk should do? Do you guys think he should buy Twitter, or do you think that he should do something else? I'm curious to know what you guys think. And then I'll give my opinion on what I think the better option is. We should blow up the internet. It was a mistake. But Tofu, we make money here. Let's not blow it up. But let's see here. So poll is almost over. Pretty lopsided. So it says here, buy Twitter with 12 votes, start something new with 5 votes. So I agree with that. You know, I honestly think that the smarter of the two ideas would be for Elon Musk to buy Twitter and simply be hawkish about its management. Basically, the instant like somebody gets banned, that's a figure. If they didn't break TOS, fuck whoever banned them, you fire them. And whoever's covering for them, you fire them too. You know? Because at the end of the day, like, you would have to clean house. Now, the big thing is, and I didn't commentate on it this week because I wanted to talk about Taylor Hawkins passing away. But one thing I found that was really interesting is that there was a walkout at Disney over the Florida bill that's so controversial, which really isn't. It's a let's not teach sex ed to kindergartners bill. The big thing is the groups of people that are doing this are very much in the minority. They're very, very small groups. And the fact that they have as much power as they do is simply because people did not keep the gates of their own companies and ask themselves how this sort of thing would affect them. You know? And in doing so, we've consistently run into these issues. So, that'd be how that do. So, yeah, buy Twitter. Clean house. You know, go for it. Because I don't really think making alternatives is really going to work at this point. And finally, sad story. I don't know how many people are fans of the Foo Fighters in here, but their longtime drummer Taylor Hawkins recently passed away. There's another, member of a big 90s band that has passed away over the last decade. That's kind of a big one. So I think Hawkins actually was with Foo Fighters from the beginning, if I recall correctly. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, he was with the band from the start. And for those who don't know what Foo Fighters is, if you've never heard their music, first off, go listen to them. Second, what they basically were is they were the band that Dave Grohl started. Dave Grohl being the former drummer of Nirvana, the band that he started after Nirvana went their separate ways. I want to say it was after Cobain killed himself. I don't remember. But they ended up becoming, in my opinion, a better band than Nirvana was. And they had a lot of really, really good albums as time went on. They were probably one of the best and most consistent rock bands that has really ever existed. I can't really remember the Foo Fighters putting out a bad album, which I think really is a testament to how quality the fucking band is. And It's the one thing that is kind of sad about a lot of bands from that era. That's sort of the 90s is sort of the kind of the last bastion of the real rock stars. You know, and I mean that in both quality of music and lifestyle. You know. Oh, Gunny, I don't think anybody's gonna argue with you that the greatest rock band of all time is Queen. The greatest frontman of all time is Freddie Mercury. The only guy who comes close to being as good of a frontman as Freddie Mercury is Rob Halford. He's the only guy. Then after that, it's Bruce Dickinson. So, and then of course, last year, if I remember right, the Foo Fighters were actually inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So Hawkins is a dude. He just passed away, and he was only 50 years old. So think about that. He's got another 15 years before he's at retirement age. He's already in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And sadly, it gets a bit more unfortunate. So, this is reported from the Daily Wire. It says here that he actually had a litany of drugs in his system. And that they had found what seems to be a cocaine-like substance in his hotel room. So this is sort of, unfortunately, like an unfortunate thing that I hear from a lot of band members who pass away at this age that were from like music that I listened to when I was a kid and a teenager. Is oftentimes whenever they die this young, it's usually because of a drug reason or suicide. And specifically what he had in his substances, he had 10 substances in his system. Opioids, benzodiazepines, antidepressants, THC. You know, like it's... He was a walking cocktail when he passed away, for lack of a better term. And here's the thing. I'm not going to say anything negative about the guy. What I am going to say is it's sad to hear. I've known quite a few addicts in my time. I've seen people try to get off of this stuff. For those of you who don't know, I actually had a drinking buddy, slash friend with benefits named Jess. And Jess was a friend of mine. Well, she's still a friend. I talk to her on like Facebook on occasion, but she, when she was dancing, struggled with a pill addiction. And a lot of the reason for that was just because she had gotten hooked on them because of a past abusive boyfriend, and she had a very hard time getting off of them. And I remember when she booked a hotel room for a week, and basically quit cold turkey and had to go and basically went through detox by herself. I went up and visited her, you know, after my shift was over to make sure she was okay. But going through that is difficult. And every time I've ever talked to Jess, and every time I've ever sat down with her and we've had drinks together or what have you, a lot of times the one thing I realized is that a lot of the reason that she had done stuff like that when she was younger was because of a hole in her life, you know. And I'm not going to get into the, you know, reasons as to why, because she's not here, and it's not my story to tell. But I've also known other people that have been alcoholics, that have been sex addicts like myself, and even delving into my own addiction. The thing that is the commonality between everybody is there's a hole there. There's a trauma that leads to a reliance on something. And sometimes you don't even know what it is. Sometimes it's completely subconscious. And you don't even remember what happened. And in doing so, for better or worse, there's a part of you that has decided that you don't deserve to live. And, that's essentially what happens is, that lack of self-image causes you to turn to these sorts of things. And it's always sad to see. Always sad to see. And hearing these stories, the only thing I can really say about it is, if you are one of these people that does have an addiction, whoever you are, it doesn't matter where you are in your walk of life, get help with it. And don't think that getting help with it is a bad thing, because getting that help and trying to figure out what it is that is causing you to turn to these things honestly is going to change your life for the better. And part of that might be seeing and talking to people about these things for the rest of your life. But hey, you'll have a life. And the unfortunate thing is, for people who have suffered traumas that kind of lead to these things, is that you don't really get the life you want. You get the life that these people who couldn't impose the trauma on you left you. And it's not fair, and it's bullshit. But at the same time, you got to do what you got to do to stay alive. So, Hawkins was a very, very talented guy. Obviously, a legend in the rock and roll business. And hopefully he'll be more remembered for his talent as a musician and as a personality than how he passed away. And that's something that I honestly hope that a lot of people will keep in mind, because that's how I try to remember guys like this, like especially musicians. Remember the things that they do. I still listen to fucking like Soundgarden and Audio Slave because I love Chris Cornell. Still listen to early Alice in Chains because I love Lane Staley. I hate how they passed away, but yeah. Hopefully he rests in peace. All right. It's time for the Q&A. Got a first-time chatter here. JH plus a bunch of numbers. I'm just going to call you JH if that's okay. Says, hi, Micah. Well, hello to you too, sir. Glad that you could make it for the Q&A section of the podcast. Hopefully everybody's having a good day today. I'm having a pretty good Sunday, all things considered. I had a really good nap. So, let's go ahead and get into the Q&A for the podcast. I'm going to take a drink real quick. So, Acorn Soup asks first. He says, for entertainment, what's your opinion on free-to-use streaming service like Tubi, Plex, Crackle, Pluto TV, etc.? What do you think is the best? I have not really used any of them, except for the one time I watched a movie on Tubi, which was Only God Forgives, which is done by the same guy who did Drive, and I am a sucker for neo-noir. So, my problem is that the commercials are way too dense in a lot of platforms that I've seen, and I've maybe tried it on occasion, but I've never given any of them an honest shot. That would be my one criticism. Other than that, I got nothing else to say about it. So, I do think, though, having a free streaming app with ads, as opposed to Hulu, where you have to pay for the access, plus you can possibly get ads, I think that free plus ads is a much better idea. It's a lot more honest, in my opinion. Diva Night Rose wants to know, thoughts and feelings on the recent scandal that Funimation had where they covered for Damian Mills, who had actual evidence against him, plus the fact that he paid off Anime News Network to stay quiet. Do we have any evidence that he actually paid them off? I didn't see that. I saw that they didn't really cover it, which doesn't really surprise me because Damien has the right politics. But she says she's livid about it, that people like that destroyed, of course, Vic's career, and that they covered for him grooming a teenage boy. And yeah, it's fucking disgusting, to say the least. And I hope Damian Mills gets arrested and goes down in flames. Like, he should never get... Just no. My opinions on pedophiles is that they should be meeting the business end of a shotgun. One thing I should probably say for our new people is if we're doing for Q&A, you get one question, and the people who are subscribers that are in the Discord server, they get priority. So after I read those and I answer those, then I'll get to the chat, just as a heads up. But Servant wants to know, any clue as to why Crunchyroll seems to be outright removing anime from its lineup with seemingly no warning? It could be license expirations, which can happen sometimes, so they might get removed and then put back on. One thing I do know is that, like, they're migrating a bunch of Funimation stuff over to Crunchyroll, but that would just be new stuff. So I don't know why things are getting removed. I haven't really looked at anything. Oh, wait, Ninjato answered it. He said Sentai Works is owned by AMC, who owns High Dive. Well, there you go. And High Dive, in my opinion, is the better service of the two of them, honestly. The unfortunate thing is that I don't think High Dive has many apps out there. A lot of stuff you have to watch in browser. But, like, High Dive is like how I watch, like, more obscure mecha. Like Votoms or Dunbine and stuff like that. I think that Elgime is on there too. I don't remember. 420 Goody wants to know, for the podcast, he says, between Elder Lions in Fallout 3 and Maxon in 4, which Brotherhood of Steel leader do you think was better overall? I am of the opinion that, I think I liked Maxon a lot more because he was a true Brotherhood leader. Lions' Brotherhood was kind of strict good guys. And I really don't like the Brotherhood being that way because Fallout is supposed to be shades of gray. So that would be that from a storyline perspective. That's my pick. Boss wants to know: do you think people are jumping at woke ghosts in entertainment in some parts, and has it gotten worse or the same? Because I think the answer to the first part of that is obviously yes. So I do think that it still happens. Has it gotten worse or is it around? I would say it's around the same. I think that. Oftentimes, like, there are people out there that, like, if there's a female protagonist, they'll scream woke. Even though we don't really have any evidence that that's the case. I think that a lot of it just comes from the fact that so many people have seen their stuff get just absolutely ruined by these goofballs. That they see things like that and they're like, fuck me, dude, not again. You know, but I don't think you should make those assumptions. I think that everything should be taken on its own merits. Also, I saw Optimus asked about Hatman in there. Hey, Optimus, if you're watching, I will get with you after the show and give you Derek wants to know, between the original Blade Runner 2049, which do I prefer? I have not seen 2049 yet, so the original. Ninja wants to know, which time period of the Universal Century is your favorite? That's the funny thing. I actually, I think I'd have to say from the 1 Year War to Double Zeta, to the end of Double Zeta, would probably be my favorite time period in the Universal Century. Because after that, I'm kind of iffy about things. Like, I think Unicorn is overrated. I actually don't really like Char's Counterattack that much. I hear the book is actually a lot better, Belterica's Children. So it's actually getting an official English translation soon, and I will probably pick it up. But Char's Counterattack, Unicorn are overrated. Gundam Hathaway was good, so I think the Hathaway's Flash trilogy of movies are probably going to end up being really good. Then what's after that would be F91. F91 as a film is kind of okay. A lot of the reason it's kind of okay is because they were cramming a lot into a very short amount of time. Though the F91 2.0 Master Grade is one of my favorite Gundam builds I've ever made. Crossbone Gundam is the shit. Victory Gundam has a very rough start, but has a great last 25 episodes. Let's see here. Waistcoats wants to know, what do you think of the open letter by Walt Disney employees asking Disney to return to being politically neutral? Think they have a chance to convince the company to turn ship, or is it a little too late? I think that Disney is in a weird spot right now, because a lot of them are just kind of listening to the tyranny of the minority. And I think that they honestly need to be listening to the majority of their employees that probably want them to be politically neutral. Because at the end of the day, being politically neutral is best for business. Because Disney is a family company. And if you're sitting there and you're telling parents that you want government to be more involved in the lives of their children than parents are going to stop buying your shit. So, Melee Brawler wants to know, given the decline of mainstream entertainment over the last decade, do you see more and more people turn to independent creators with original stories or content in the near future? Nope. Don't see it happening. They haven't so far. Not really. A lot of the reason being is because there's not a lot of people that say that they want these alternatives that really want these alternatives. They just want what they have right now to be better than what it is. This is something that I've ran into a lot when it comes to promoting my own comics. It's like, look, Batman sucks. Pick up Englewood, right? And then I'll actually get people say, but I just want Batman. They have a connection with Batman. They don't want to take the risk of, reading a new story, which is unfortunate. But I don't really see it happening, unless the person making the book is somebody who's already an established creator. I think that right now, the new people, like myself, are going to have to just continue grinding and grinding and grinding until we get our names out there properly. It sucks. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just sort of where we're at. And the Anime Guy wants to know if I listened to Sabaton's new album yet. I did. I'm going to review that next week. I completely forgot about it. I want to give it another listen. But from what I remember of it, it was pretty good. And then RPX wants to know what my favorite dessert is. Cheesecake. I fucking love cheesecake. So, cheesecake and ice cream. Like that's what I have every birthday. Though I've had people say it's more of a pie, but I don't really give a shit. It's delicious. Okay. Let's hit the chat. So JH wanted to know my opinions on Tomb Raider, and then he said rank them favorite to least favorite. I have not played enough of them. I was never a big fan of Tomb Raider. I did enjoy the reboot. The reboot I thought was a lot of fun. So I can say that one I liked. Other Tomb Raider games just never really caught my attention. So, let's see here. Leonardo Wan wants me to name my top 5 super robot mecha. So, I'm not a big fan of super robots. I like real robot shows a lot more. My favorites that I've watched are, I really like the remake of Mazinger Z called, which is Impact. And then Shin Getter Robo is a really good one. Trying to think. Gao Gaigar I really enjoyed. What's another? Are there any more other super robot shows I've actually watched? Because Deimos paid me to watch Giant Robo's OVA, which had beautiful animation, but I didn't like the story at all. I haven't watched many of the Braves. In fact, I think the only Brave I've actually watched is Gao Gaigar. Trying to think about it. I guess you could count Big O, but Big O is like a super robot noir. You know? I think that's really it for me. Super robot shows just don't interest me as much. I already read comic books. What do I need? Why do I need another superhero story, but this time with a giant robot? That's my perspective on it. Whereas with real robot shows, they're military fiction. I'm the son of a drill instructor. I love military fiction. So yeah, I'm getting me into super robots is very hard. Let's see here. Crystal Hydra wants to know if I'm going to see the Morbius movie. Probably. I'm interested in it. One Path wants to know, what's the difference between miracles and magic? In a fictional context, there's not that much of a difference. And then in real life, a miracle is considered an act of God. And magic is just something that's in fiction, basically. That's how I would put it. Brian Gilmartin wants to know thoughts on the TMNT Cowabunga collection. Let me have a look and see what's all in it. I'm glad it's getting put out there. So we've got the original arcade game, Turtles in Time, the NES game. Ooh. Turtles 2, the arcade game, Manhattan Project, Fighters, the SNES version of Turtles in Time, Tournament Fighters, Hyperstone Heist, Follow the Foot, and then the Game Boy games. Wow. This is actually a really good collection. Yeah. I think it's pretty awesome. Between that and the new beat 'em up, I'm pretty excited about the Ninja Turtle shit that's going on. So, what else we got? Did I miss anything else? Your taste in mecha hurts me a bit. Y-O-U-R. That's all I have to say about that. Y-O-U-R. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. But I'll explain more of the super robot thing here in a minute. But Gunny says, don't understand why BOS's Brotherhood of Steel has been so stupid not to use friendly ghouls and scouts, since feral ghouls and super mutants ignore them. The reason that they don't is very simple. They consider ghouls to be a product of man's foolishness with technology, because ghouls are created by radiation. And the simple fact that the bombs even fell, like, is considered a failure by the Brotherhood of Steel. So they see killing a ghoul as putting it out of its misery. Because and this is something that's actually talked about in Fallout 3, is the inevitability of every ghoul is they're going to go feral at some point. Because the radiation is rotting away a piece of their brain. It's sad. Let's see here. What is your stance on biopunk from RPX? It's good when it's done well. I wish Liam had kept his fucking head on straight, because Xenotype could have been a great franchise, but I don't trust him to get it done right. The ghouls were a product of FEV. No, that's the super mutants. Super mutants are products of the forced evolutionary virus. They were created by the Master. So, Hydra says, I need to play another Fallout game for the channel. I might at some point. I really want to go back to New Vegas. I haven't played New Vegas in a long time. But I want to beat Elden Ring before I do that, though. Because the unfortunate thing about having a job on top of streaming is that, like, I don't get the opportunity to stream more video games than I would like to. I really wish I was in a position to stream full time, honestly. I really wish I was, but I'm not there yet. Because I have zero support structure, you know. Does the Saint use Old Spice or another product? I have not thought that far. Honestly. Oh, goodness. What is my favorite non-superhero franchise in comics? Probably The Walking Dead. I really liked The Walking Dead. I would say that would probably be my pick. If you put a gun to my head, The Walking Dead would probably, yeah. Because the thing is, like, with comic books, like, most of what I read is superhero stuff. I love superheroes. I think that the art behind me is, like, a really good example of that. Do I want to smell like Terry Crews? I don't know. How does Terry Crews smell? I've never met him. And then somebody had actually asked another question about shonen manga. I don't read that many manga. And whenever I read manga, it's usually like a seinen series or horror. Like the manga that I have read all the way through, I could... Let's see here. We've got Devilman right here. Berserk. Battle Angel Alita. So the whole Gundam series except for Mars Chronicle I've read. I read Pupa. I got halfway through it and thought it was kind of weird and stupid. I've read several Junji Ito stories. What else? I read Battle Royale. So that's 6. What else was there? I want to say, I don't remember if somebody paid me to read Battle Royale or if Xavier just recommended it to me. What else is there? Oh, Magical Girl Apocalypse was another one I've read. So 7. I've read 7 manga. And I guess you can count Xenotype, and that would be 8. So I've read 8. And I don't care what Liam says, Xenotype is not a shonen. That's a seinen. You know? Xenotype's kind of fucked up. So. But yeah, like, I don't read... I couldn't imagine myself ever reading a shonen manga. Honestly. Like, it just doesn't seem like it would appeal to me. Like, the only one that you could make that I'm interested in actually taking the time to read, that I don't even know if you could really call it a shonen, even if it wasn't Shonen Jump, is Fist of the North Star. You know? So yeah, not really my my cup of tea. All right, I think that's it. I can't really think of anything else to do except move into the cringe. Would I ever read I wouldn't read the Dragon Ball manga. I'd much rather just see it animated. So let me queue up some the cringe for the week. Now, Brain gave me a some cringe with a content ID warning. So we'll start with that. It is called jumping in Fallout as opposed to jumping in Skyrim. So let's have a look. Oh, RPX is a question. Will you make a military mecha comic in the future? Yes, Xavier and I are working on one. It's called the Argonauts. Alright, jumping in Fallout. Accurate. Also accurate. Yeah, Net's jelly, and then you just bounce. Well, Optimus narrated it in his Terry Crews voice. Maybe. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, this is a very, very accurate accurate thing for the Fallout one. But here's what I'll also say about it. The first comment is also very accurate. It says, was honestly expecting a quick save, quick load to negate the fall damage for the Fallout one. At least I think that works. Yeah, it didn't. It did in New Vegas anyway. Okay. Shirokuma Cafe Baseball. What? This is also copywritten. I can tell by the look of it, so. That's a lot of bats. Then he hits it with his paw? I'm very confused. Very, very confused now. Freedom Fallout says, been cooking for the past half hour. Just noticed the sick overlay. Thank you. I worked pretty hard on it. All right. Terminator versus Jesus. The greatest action story ever told. All right, we'll watch 2 minutes of this. Let me pull it up. Let's have a look.
Unto this world, a child is born.
Okay, hold on a second. Why is it coming through my speakers and not through my headphones? Hold on one sec. What the fuck is going on here? There we go. That should fix it. Also, could somebody refund those points for Leonardo Juan? I have sound alerts turned off during the podcast.
Enjoying the night air, my brother?
Okay. I'm kind of getting the gist of this already, but somebody says, watch the part with Judas. It's too fucking funny. Let's fast forward to that then. Because, like, this is 5 minutes. Like...
It's a sin.
Why?
Because it's not nice.
Why?
Forgive him, Father. He's a robot from the future.
Thou shalt not miss this movie. Now, come, witness the miracle.
Brothers, my time with you is almost over. But for now, let us eat.
Eat this.
You just don't get it, do you?
You have been targeted for termination.
I already told you. I'm supposed to die for the sins of mankind.
Okay. Good lord. Oh, man. That was... Just fucking blows him away. Just... Oh, wow. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I won't lie. I imagine there's more to it, but I don't want to risk copyright. That's bad. But yeah. Fun times all around. Hopefully, Hatman will be getting, better soon. Because it's kind of weird having Micah and the Hatman without a Hatman, So before we take off for the day, the question is, is there anybody to raid before we go? Excuse me. See if anybody's live. Nobody I follow is live. Okay. Let me browse the Twitch for a second. So Brother Mouse is live. Any other suggestions from the chat? Schnitzel is... Yeah, we'll raid Mouse. So, let's have a look. And he is playing Guacamelee. Let's go ahead and give him a raid. Because he, just to be a nice guy. And our message for him is simple. Hi, Mouse. Laughs and biking. That is going to be our raid message. So copy and paste that when we raid. He'll love it. He'll love it. Seriously, he'll love it. So we'll go ahead and get that started. We'll be raiding in 10, 9, 8. Basically, once the intro is done playing. I do appreciate all of you. Thank you again for hanging out with me tonight. I will be back on Tuesday night for a stream, and we shall have fun then. So until then, my name is Micah Curtis. Hatman will hopefully be back next time. We'll see you guys next time.